potatoes. Simple, little guys. One of the cheapest things you can find at the supermarket. Full of starch, excellent sources of energy, and insanely cheap. We have a whole state dedicated to them. And today I'm going to make the simplest dish you can make with a potato, mashed potatoes. So we got our setup. It's pretty basic. We got a potato, a cutting board, and a peeler. You don't want to go too deep. Just keep it nice and simple. And you can see you'll pick up speed as you go on. Alright. Not too bad. Skinned and all the green spots gone, but still a few pieces of skin on there, and again, that's no problem. So next we need to cut. Right? We don't want to make these too small. They'll boil way too fast, and before we know it, our mashed potatoes will be waterlogged. So I recommend just cut it in half, and then just cut it in slices like so. Now notice they're not the same size, so go through and maybe cut it in half for some of the bigger pieces. Throwing it in the water. Now, boiling potatoes isn't as easy as it sounds. I know a lot of you are probably quick to start the fire and then cut the potatoes, but that's a bad idea. It's going to cook the outside first, and then your inside is not going to be done when the outside's finished. So put the potatoes in before you turn on the water, and set it to a nice, what is it? Probably medium high. Number 8 on this stove right here. Now that's probably too much water. We only want the water to come up a little bit above the potatoes. So empty some out. And there we go. Now it's not done. Potatoes love butter and potatoes love salt. So be sure to add plenty of salt to the water to give them some flavor, because those potatoes are going to suck up the salt as they're cooking, and that's going to make more delicious mashed potatoes. So let that come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, maybe let it go for about 5 minutes, and they should be done. Okay, a good way to check to see if everything's done is take out one, bring it over to your cutting board, and take the end of your knife and hit it like that. If it falls apart, you know those are ready to go. You could use a strainer, but it's not very important that you get all the water out. You're still going to need water when you mash these. So if you got a little bit left in there, that's maybe a little too much. Just a tablespoon or so of water in there. Don't worry about it. Pop them in a bowl. Whatever you got is fine. And now we're ready to mash. But before we do that, let's think about what we want to put in these. Now, you could add a bunch of different things. You could add roasted garlic if you had that. You could add cheese if you wanted to. I'm a big fan of salt, pepper, and how about some milk? A little bit of milk will do just fine for me. Milk is going to give them some fluff, some creaminess, and all of this you could add before you mash it up. You can always add more later, so don't worry too much if you don't put enough in. So just a little bit of milk. Always add more salt than you think you're going to need, and some pepper. If you add white pepper, add a little bit more, because white pepper tends to be less powerful than black pepper, but it looks nicer. Now, mashing a potato, my preferred way is a whisk. Whisk is essentially the same thing. I think we have something in here, a potato masher, and you can use those too, but what the hell. And you can see they're starting to come together. Now, this is when it comes down to the ultimate debate in culinary. In the culinary world, do you want them chunky or do you want them smooth? I prefer mine somewhere in the middle. So find the big chunks, break them up, stir, et voila! We have mashed potatoes. Before you want to eat this though, you want to check your seasoning. Go back to your fork. Perfect. Grab a plate, big or small. Since it's only me, I'm going to use a small plate. If you want to make this look nice, grab a spoon instead of a fork. The bigger the better. This is a serving spoon right here. Get your potatoes all together and just plop them down. If you have some parsley laying around, throw a little bit of that on top. It's perfect. Mashed potatoes. 10 minutes from start to finish. I hope you can see that making pretty good food is pretty simple. Don't be afraid to try.
Get past the people, get past the hitman.